the time I didn't know what I was doing, but when I was in high school, senior in high school, I won a competition to play at the Monterey Jazz Festival. And I was a guitar player in a big band. I really didn't know how to read, but there was a break in the tune, and I got to just improvise. And I know I made up some stuff, but I improvised and I played some stuff. But there was about 15 bands that all auditioned to try to win, and I was the only guitar player in any of the bands that got this spot where I got to improvise, just do my own thing, you know, where the whole band stopped. So I guess I had some natural talent from that part of it, and that helped me. And then once I won that competition, I got to study with the Stan Kenton Orchestra down here in Los Angeles. At the time I lived up in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area. And then I realized all this other stuff I needed to know, because before I was just sort of playing by ear and, you know, just hearing something and trying to play to it. But then when I realized all these scales go with this, and chord structures and all the other stuff, I got into learning that, and that helped my improvisation more, you know.
Well, I was drawn to jazz music before I came anywhere near realizing how difficult and arduous a task it is to master the art form. I was just simply attracted to the sound and feeling of the music, the mystique surrounding the players, and just the sparks that were flying around in the air when people played this music.
When I was very young, my mother used to take me to a theater in Philadelphia, the Earl Theater. This is in the 40s. I was like 4 years old, I think, when I first went. Obviously, she couldn't leave me alone, so she would take me, and they had these matinees where they had, you know, feature film, and they had what they called a stage show, which usually included a big band. And I still to this day remember Lionel Hampton's band being there, and Cab Calloway's band. And there was some kind of because in those days there were a lot of, you know, show bands were more entertainment vehicles also. So they had lighting effects, primitive lighting effects, and it was very impressive to, you know, a small child. And, you know, as I, you know, grew up, you know, I decided to it'd be nice to play an instrument. I had no burning desire or anything. I thought it'd be something nice to do. So the only instrument that I could actually get in my public school, you know, would loan you an instrument, was a flute. But nobody wanted it because it wasn't, you know, nobody knew what it was, and it wasn't exactly a proper macho thing for, you know, a young male in my neighborhood. But anyway, I took it and fooled around with it, and it was kind of a gradual thing. One thing led to another. There was no like real defining moment. It kind of like became. It's very interesting because it became like an ongoing, like, and kind of an inertia. One little thing led to another thing, and before I knew it, I'm caught up in this path. I'm caught up in this road, and I have to take it as far as I can take it. And that's basically how I got involved in music. And then there was the situation of peer situation where there were some people that were a little bit older who I thought were hip, were into jazz music, so I started to listen to it. And I heard someone play the flute. I said, wow, somebody's playing jazz on the flute. So I tried to do that. I obviously heard the tenor saxophone, and one of the heroes in Philadelphia at that time was Al Cohn, who was like kind of a cult figure amongst white saxophone players in Philadelphia. So some of the people that I looked up to were into it, so I started to you know, listen to that, and the first moment I picked up a tenor, that was the sound I was trying to get. So that was the beginning.
There's definitely an element of being tingled by elements that you didn't quite understand, but were sort of drawing you. You know, there was a siren call. I mean, it was there definitely was that. I didn't understand it at first, of course, but it was like a magnet. It just kept drawing you in, and you wanted to learn how to. I wanted to learn how to begin to play in that world. And it's so unrelated and yet related to the day-to-day life. I think we probably we function as human beings in a lot of different ways. There's a very rational, methodical side that we have to pay homage to just survive and work. But of course, there's that other very important and probably sublimated in many cases side that lives in the world of art and ideas and fantasy and other realms. And we have to be in touch with that. I think obviously a musician has to be in touch with that. I think to really speak.
For me, jazz is I don't know what it is. I mean, it's improvising is definitely a big part of it. But then again, improvising is a big part of a lot of music, and for me, I like a lot of different music.
It's interesting because there is a moment, and I don't think I've ever talked about this, and it actually it's a vivid memory, and the emotion that I experienced was so powerful that I can just pull it back today. And I was probably 7 or 8, 9 years old, maybe something like that, and I was. It was at night, and I think the elementary school that I was attending had some kind of function in the evening, and there were a bunch of kids in a classroom, and they were singing. And what I remember was walking around a corner and getting closer to the classroom and hearing these kids singing, and then moving away back around the corner and just having it get quieter, and being struck by the quality of what that small distant sound was like compared to how it had been much more intense and full 10 or 11 seconds earlier. And there was something, for some reason, that I found incredibly moving about the tension between those two, just the loud and the soft, and it felt filmic. I mean, it was like a cut, it was like long shot or close up and then long shot. And I think I just experienced the pull of what had been large and that was now small, what that was about. And that was almost more of a film music experience than just a music experience. In other words, there was something that was what's the word I'm looking for? It wasn't just oral, and it was kinesthetic. That's the term. It was kinesthetic because it had to do with moving through space. It had to do with sound, obviously, and it's the sort of thing that a filmmaker would evoke visually, but what they would be doing was evoking visually a sense of actual physical movement that was then tied to the sound. I don't think I've ever talked about that before, but I've thought about it a lot over the years.
My parents were both professional opera singers, and I remember myself. I remember music, I remember backstage, I remember opera theater, I remember orchestra singers. It was my first experience with music, to hear live performance. But I'm not sure would I say it's affected me or touched me or some. It was just. I would say I reacted on music since early age actively. It touched me somehow, but maybe on child level, like kind of like a game or whatever. But definitely I can tell first time music really knocked me out, it was definitely jazz music, which I heard, by chance from radio. Once my father, was trying to tune up. Suddenly, some music came out I never heard before, and it was so shockingly. I immediately just found myself, I am so excited about such a music. I've never been before, listening opera or studying my own repertoire, which I was ordered to study from my musical school. So that's obviously, I would say, is definitely. This was my first time music came, deeply inside of me and captured me.
There was this lady playing the piano, and they taught us the melody, and we sang the melody, and she was playing the piano, but she was playing a different melody that went with what we were singing, viz. Harmony, right? And I thought that really knocked me out. So the first thing I did was, when I got home that afternoon, is I taught my little sister, she was 3 and a half at the time, I taught her the song. We sang it together, and then I told her about this crazy piano lady who was playing like a different tune, but it worked, So I sang what I remembered of that tune, of the piano accompaniment, complete with the blinks and the harmony, and within days we was arguing over who was going to sing the harmony line. But I'll never forget, because my dad came in that night, and there we were singing sort of perfect harmony at the age of 3 and 4, and because that impressed him, because I remember him yelling down the hall, "Jesus Christ, Adie, come and listen to this." That was a big moment.
I think I heard jazz on the radio, with my parents and growing up. But it didn't really get to me then. When it got to me really was when I joined the Air Force.
Any song we heard, we'd put our own harmonies to it, and that was surely a seminal moment. And the buzz, we used to call it the buzz, because there is actually a physical buzz. When 3 little voices are so well in tune, you hear an harmonic, and you can hear that harmonic, the resultant tone. You can hear it buzzing around your heads, and when the harmony is absolutely pure, it's a unique moment in music making, and that was it really. From that moment on, the next thing, I begged my dad to get me a guitar.
I sang choir music, a little country, many different, very eclectic. I mean, I even sang top 40 professionally for a period of time, and when I joined the Air Force was when the first time that I really heard a big band. And that was what captured me. Big band jazz.
I think the magic that hit me very deeply had to do with improvisation. It had to do with and it's not just jazz that embodies improvisation, but I think in my case it was that sort of evanescent, spontaneous, impromptu flights of fancy that were also very ordered. They seemed to have some kind of architecture that they sprung from. And jazz as a medium for that kind of expression really intrigued me, because it had the intellectual depth, but at the same time had the emotional openness, to engage one in the spontaneous creative act.
I was taken to a Segovia concert, and I thought I was at 13 or 14 a really cool guitarist, you know. And then I saw this guy, and not only was he an incredible virtuoso, but he did an all Bach concert, and Bach is like hero, man, you know. And I thought, man, that guy knows so many chords, you know. How did he work them out, you know?
When I come out of improvising, it's like, where am I, you know, kind of thing. And I have to be very careful that I don't disappear.
I think the thing that that was sort of boiling up was a desire to be connected to that element in all of us that is, well, I could say connected to the divine, you know, to the spiritual sort of underpinnings of everything that we do, you know. And I think music, expression in music is I mean, music is everywhere. People love music, and it's, you know, they need, but the essential ingredient, I think, the reason that it's so powerful is that it's rooted in something much deeper than what we see out here.
It was not the guitar that captured me. It was the music. It was the way this music sounded. I had been with music since my very first memory, which goes back to about 3 years old. And at the age of 13, I heard Little White Lies on the radio, and it captured me, you know. After all the folk and local music that I was involved in. And I didn't know that it was the music that captured me. I played the guitar, and I liked what I was hearing from the guitar in there, but it was definitely the music that captured me. And I can tell you that what it was the harmony of what I was hearing. Obviously, in that I liked the improvised solos. They were beautiful, but the thing that captured me was the harmony, the chords.
The chords were the first thing, because for the tunes, that's what you're usually soloing over, improvising over, the harmonies in the tune. And a lot of the chord structures didn't make any sense to me. I mean, what the names of them and everything. So I had to start from square one and learn that, and I had to learn the circle of fifths and you know, the notes and the chords, how it's built up and stuff. And that took a little while. I studied there for a couple of weeks with the orchestra, and they gave me the basics, and then I just started to work on it and tried to learn it, you know. And it took a while. And then after I went to junior college for 2 years, I went away to another college in Texas, North Texas State, which is a famous music school, and that's where I really started to put it all together and learn it and find out exactly what I was doing, you know, learn the scales that I was using to improvise, which I sort of knew some of them, but now I knew exactly what they were. I mean, I was using those notes, but I didn't know I was playing that scale. And then when I went to school and learned all that, then it was just more tools to help me. And I studied it. Everybody's just doing music there, so it was a good place to just work on it 20 hours a day, you know, till you get it down. Because the thing is, you want to learn it so well. It's a tool, but you want to learn it so well that you don't even have to think about it anymore. Just like a hammer and a nail, you know, the carpenters are not thinking about, they're just doing it, you know. And so that's what it was. It took a while to get it going. But the internal, the thing I had, I guess I was born with, was helpful, you know. It just makes it that much easier, you know. I still had to struggle, but I didn't have to struggle quite as bad as maybe some other people. Then there was other people that didn't have to struggle at all. It came even easier to them. So I had to put in my homework on that, but it finally, I think it helped.
I never questioned anything that happened to me. It just rolled into me. I mean, I was completely taken over. In hindsight, that was the beginning of a lifelong, the word is not search, but a lifelong involvement in this music. And over the years it went to many, many places. And many different things happened, and I went off the track, and I came on the track, and I went off the track, and I started getting all modal, and I went through many things, and I've arrived back to where the point is, that the realization is I love the juxtaposition of intervals against each other, which is again harmony, is the thing that turns me on. But I never questioned where it came from. I just accepted that this is me. And that is how music is and has been to me. Just a reason to exist and to do something useful. As it turned out, I think it's useful. I didn't consider that at the time too. It is just a thing that had to be done.
As soon as you start thinking about any scale or anything, you sort of lose part of that improvisation that you really want to keep. Because I find when I'm playing my best, doing and playing, improvisation, I'm not thinking about anything. You're just feeling it. It's just going through your body and it's coming out. You're reacting to the sound of the other instruments, the people that are playing with you or whatever. And it's just flowing. It's just happening so quickly. You can't, if you started to think about it, you'll screw yourself up and you'll lose the moment.
My eyes have to be closed. So when I'm looking at a piece of music, I can't leave this place that we're talking about. I can't go away. Because now I can do it quite successfully now through experience, years of experience, and I can improvise quite nicely with my eyes glued to a piece of paper, but it is normally fairly superficial. The eyes have to be closed and I have to go deep inside myself to truly improvise. I think when you're improvising off a piece of paper, you are playing cliches.
You do keep things, little licks and stuff in the background, but like I say, when I'm really improvising, I'm not using those. If you start to lose it a little bit, you might think of a lick and throw it in there and stuff. And I guess people do have their little things to get through the certain chords or whatever. But I try to stay away from that as much as I can, because to me that's not really. You're not really playing at the level that you want to be if you're doing that, I think.
It is not a mystical, magical thing. You are very aware that you have an instrument in your hand, that you are playing on a certain structure, and you are trying to play the best things that you can on that blueprint. So it is not mysterious. It's still a very describable experience. It is not a blue mist. You are dealing in mathematics, but improvising with it.